For his debut as a film director, Hamilton creator Lin-Manuel Miranda turned to some unlikely source material, an unfinished one-man show by the late Jonathan Larson.The, the composer and lyricist of the groundbreaking 1990s musical Rent. Larson was a force of nature. Tall, gangly, with a mess of black hair and ambition to burn. He wrote for 8 hours almost every day, his friend Victoria Leacock once recalled. He refused to write jingles for companies whose politics or ethics he didn't approve of, or to accept money for doing any sort of work for such companies. He chose, instead, to wait tables. And that's what he did for 10 years, scraping a meager living in West Soho as he dreamt of becoming a Broadway composer. When his moment finally arrived, it couldn't have been any bigger. Rent, billed as the rock opera of the 90s, won a Pulitzer Prize and the Tony Award for Best Musical, eventually becoming the 11th longest-running show in Broadway history. But Larson never got to see it. He died of an aortic aneurysm on the morning of the show's off-Broadway preview, in January 1996, aged just 35.
He didn't leave much else to explore, save for an unproduced sci-fi musical, Superbia, and that one-man show, Boho Days, about his failure to get Superbia made. After his death, that rock soliloquy was repurposed as a 3-actor piece and became a hit in its own right, under the title Tick, Tick, Boom. And that's where Lin-Manuel Miranda comes in. In 2001, the young composer saw Tick, Tick, Boom in a tiny hotel theater in New York, and it changed his life. It really clarified whether I wanted to do this for a living or not, he later recalled, adding, "It was like, here's what your 20s are going to look like, dude." So when Netflix asked him to adapt the musical for the big screen, he jumped at the chance. It was the fastest email response: "I'm the only person who can direct this movie. If they only let me make one, this is the one," he said at the film's premiere earlier this month. Rarely has there been a more appropriate marriage of director and material. Miranda and Larson's careers run on parallel tracks, right down to that Pulitzer Prize, and they share the same restless, nervous energy. Miranda even played Larson in a 2014 revival of Tick, Tick, Boom. And the New York Times observed that his performance throbs with a sense of bone-deep identification. As you'd expect, then, the film is an affectionate portrayal of an artist on his uppers, replete with nods to Broadway history, and a cameo from Bradley Whitford as a twinkly-eyed Stephen Sondheim. But it also expands Larson's solo show into a dizzying rock opera, with visually stunning set pieces and a whirlwind central performance by Andrew Garfield. Miranda says there are a million moments in the film that resonate with his own life. But the most telling comes in the second act, when Larson and his girlfriend Susan fall out over his inability to prioritize her needs above his musical ambition. "I heard this low groan from my friend. And he went, 'Lin, you can't show people that.' Because the dirty secret is, if you live with an artist, the microphone is always on. There's a part of us that deals with life by recording it and filing it away for future use." And the fact that she calls him out and catches him in real time figuring out a piano motif on her back, it absolutely rings true to anyone who's an artist. Garfield, whose roles vary from Spider-Man to his Oscar-nominated portrayal of an army medic in Hacksaw Ridge, is a revelation in the lead role, a bundle of nervous energy, constantly in motion but likable despite his neuroses. Few people realized he was capable of singing until now. Even his castmates were taken aback. From the beginning of rehearsal, he gave everything, says co-star Joshua Henry. "I mean, he went from a sort of shaky voice to this incredible competence, and you're like, are you kidding me? These long, hugely sustained notes. It was amazing to see him just dive headfirst into the process." To prepare, Garfield immersed himself in Larson's life, absorbing home movies and archive recordings, and studying handmade cards and flipbooks the composer made for his friends. He compares the research to hanging out with a long-lost brother, albeit one who experienced life at a different height. "Everything was always at an 11 because of this ticking, this awareness of the shortness of life and, therefore, the attempt to create an event out of everything he says. He was always singing to the back row, not just when he was singing, but when he was living. And I think it came out of this awareness of the shortness and the sacredness of life. Garfield found Laren's attitude so infectious that it was hard to let go. He kept me awake at night. He didn't let me sleep, says the 38-year-old. After we finished principal photography, I remember going back to Los Angeles and thinking, oh good, I get to relax again. Jonathan was still with me. I was exhausted. I was anxious. I felt like, I can't just read a book today. What am I producing? What am I making? Who am I? Then I realized, oh God, he's latched onto me. He believes that Larson's spirit was fretting about the film, and channeling that energy through Garfield himself. I had to just gently say, John, the war is over, you've done everything you can and now we let it go. Stay with me, sit next to me, but maybe don't inhabit my entire being. In the end, Larson didn't need to worry. Tick, tick. Boom. Has been rapturously received by critics, with Garfield receiving early Oscar buzz for his performance. He embodies this role from the tips of his toes to the top of his curly mop of hair, wrote the AV Club's Caroline Side, while USA Today's Brian Truitt said the actor's youthful enthusiasm, soul-bearing gravitas and absolute joy add up to make one of his best acting performances to date. Garfield also creates believable, touching relationships with his co-stars, most notably his girlfriend Susan, a dancer who's recovering from a career-threatening injury, and Michael, his best friend, who's given up his acting dream and taken a job in advertising. Their on-screen camaraderie reflects a real-life affection, forged in the depths of lockdown. It was an experience unlike any other, that's for sure, says Vanessa Hudgens, who plays Caressa Johnson, a key member of Larson's chorus line. We started rehearsals pre-pandemic and we were having the best time singing together every single day. But when filming started in September 2020, we weren't allowed to sing together because of particles. It was masks and face shields for everyone on the crew, every single day. And it was challenging because I love hanging out with the crew. It's a community, you know. That's the spirit of Jonathan Larson, it's community.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.